My prank for April Fool's Day went too far. It ended our relationship forever. We are often told that there are limits we should not cross in life, relationships, and careers. Yet some people cross those lines regardless of what has been told to them. I am one of those people. I crossed a line in my relationship that I never should have crossed, and the repercussions are nothing short of cataclysmic. My entire life has been ruined by one stupid act, a joke, a prank, something that shouldn't have happened in the first place. My name is Benita, and I've been dating my boyfriend Lloyd for about 18 months now. Unlike most girls, I never had the patience for long salon hours or makeup. Growing up with 5 brothers made me different. My brothers used to tease me, saying no man would ever marry me. I half believed it until I met Lloyd. When he asked me out, my family thought it was a prank. 3 months in, he asked me to move in. I hesitated, but 1 week at his place and I was hooked. He cooked, cleaned, and gave me the peace I never knew I needed. That's when I realized how much I had grown and how in love I was with Lloyd. But that sweet, lovely feeling of being in love soon turned to hurt. Because just 14 months into our relationship, when I felt nothing could come between us and that we were perfectly fine, Lloyd got an opportunity to go for a training program for the company he worked for. It was a 6-month program, and I had never been as startled as I was when I heard that. I was so happy for him because it meant an increment in pay and experience for him, but it was in another state, and it was for 6 whole months. I had gotten used to him, and I was worried I wouldn't be able to cope without him. I remember the day he left. I followed him to the airport. He gave me a tight hug and kissed me. He told me that we would be fine and that we would talk every day. He always used to say that any relationship could work as long as the couple was willing to put in the work required, regardless of the odds stacked against it. He said he wasn't giving up on us and asked me to not give up on us either. He told me that it was just 6 months and he could come visit if he had time. After he left, I went back home, and I tried to settle my mind into the fact that I would be staying alone in that house. And I like to say that it was at that moment that all our problems started. But the truth is, I don't know when exactly it started. All I know is that the problems began slowly. I didn't fully understand the nature of this program he was going for. But the time contradictions between him and me were just frustrating. He was in a different time zone, and he seemed to always be busy. Every time I called, he would either not pick up or he'd answer and tell me that he'd call me later. And most of the time, he wouldn't call me back. What's funny is that whenever we actually got to talk, our conversations would be arguments. Arguments about why he didn't call back, or how he didn't have my time, or how he is always busy and not available for me. He would always try to explain to me that it wasn't his fault and that he was just very busy and tired. But I didn't care to hear that. I told him that he was making me cry because he was messing with my heart. He would often tell me that it was not his intent, and he would apologize for it, making me feel that way. This back and forth went on for about 2 months, and it became frustrating. At some point, I was beginning to feel like I was holding him back. This feeling mostly came whenever I saw the pictures of him at work that he would send to me or even post on social media. The worst feeling that I felt was jealousy. And this one came whenever I saw pictures of him with his female coworkers. He was often smiling and looked so happy, and it made me so jealous because I wanted him to be by my side and to be happy with me. But instead he was happy with some other people. In the 3rd month of his program, he had a break and was given the opportunity to come home for a week or 2. He came back home, and I was so happy to meet him. He looked better than he did when he left. He was healthier. His hair was full and darker and shiny. Even his clothes were new. It was like he was a whole new person physically. But at heart, I was all he still wanted. He raised me from the floor and gave me a kiss like I have never had. I was so happy to see him again, and I was ready to spend every single second of the days he was going to be at home with him. But barely 4 days after he returned, he was called back to work. They needed him at work, and I was so annoyed. I nagged and asked him why it had to be him. It could have been anybody else. They could have called anybody else. Why did they have to call him in particular? I hated that. I hated that he was going to leave me so soon after not seeing him for so long. I hated that. Lloyd tried to calm me down, but that was impossible. I couldn't stop crying, and I even asked him to defy the order and stay with me. I needed him, I missed him, and I just got him back. but he told me that he couldn't stay back. He left that evening. After he left that evening, I developed a bitter feeling in my chest. I felt like Lloyd was taking his job too seriously, or at least he saw his job as more important than me. I missed the days when we could talk for hours and when I could see him whenever I wanted. Now, even if I took a flight to where he was working, there was no sure promise that I would be able to meet him because he would be busy with work. I suddenly got the urge to remind him of how important I was in his life, because I felt that if he saw me as important enough, he would break some rules for me, and that was all I wanted. He could have just lied that he was having a family emergency and couldn't come back to work when they requested him, but he didn't do that. He left like I wasn't important to him anymore. I missed him, and I missed how we used to be, and that singular emotion drove me to think up something very vile. After he left, I became a shadow of myself. I was just wandering around for weeks. I stuck to my schedule of home to work and work to home. I didn't even go to visit my family. My mind was obsessed with one thought, and that thought was on how I was going to bring my vile planning to fruition. I wanted to make Lloyd jealous. I wanted him to feel what I had felt in all the months he had been away. I wanted him to feel like I was slipping through his fingers, and I wanted him to go the extra mile to try and keep me. And to do that, I settled for the one thing that I and my siblings were very good at: pranking people. Just 1 month after Lloyd abandoned me, he sent me a text, wishing me a happy new month and telling me that he loved me. It was the first day of the month of April, and when I saw his message, I thought to myself that it was the perfect day to carry out the prank. The things I had in mind were a bit too extreme, but I felt that if I wanted my man back, then I needed to cross a line. I needed something extreme for him to take me seriously. I needed him to see how far I was willing to go to get his attention. I wasn't thinking about how this would affect him and how it would affect our relationship. I could only see the good outcome. I don't know if I was just being naive or properly stupid. Because I didn't answer his message for quite some time, then I sat down and typed a lengthy message. In the message, I told him that it seemed he was happy where he was and that he had found a life over there in which he was happy without me. I told him that I knew he was cheating on me and that I had proof. I told him that if he had just had the balls to approach me and tell me that he was tired of the relationship, then I would have understood. But instead, he had to start sneaking around like a child. I told him it was disrespectful to me for him to act that way. I even said that I knew he didn't leave so quickly the last time he came to visit because of a work emergency. I told him I knew that his second girlfriend was having an emergency. I told him that there was no need for him to deny any of it. I told him that it was okay, and that since he didn't have the courage to break up with me, then I was going to do it. I said that I knew he had gotten his second girlfriend pregnant, and that I wasn't ready to be in competition with anyone, so I was breaking up with him. I wished him well in his new relationship, and I told him goodbye and that he shouldn't try to contact me anymore. I told him that I had moved on and that we should just leave it at that. It didn't take up to 10 minutes. Lloyd called me. I didn't answer the call. He called a few more times, and I ended the call every single time he called. He sent me a text begging me to pick up. I laughed at it. I could feel that my boyfriend was panicking, and I could have ended it there, but I pushed it even farther. I told him that I had been struggling and drinking nonstop since I discovered that he was cheating on me. I called him cruel and told him that I even got into an accident the previous night while coming back from the bar. I went as far as sending him a voice message of me crying and saying that I would never forgive him. I said that I was taken to the hospital by strangers, and I had to find my way back home alone when I was discharged that morning. There was no one there for me. I said I was depressed and in pain, both physical and emotional. And I said I felt like giving up. I cried and said that it was all his fault that I was in this situation, all because he couldn't keep his junk in his pants. Lloyd called me so many times that day, but I didn't pick up. He sent me so many questions, asking me what I was talking about and if I was okay. He was so worried about me and told me to pick up his calls so he could talk to me. I told him that I didn't want to talk to a cheat, that he had cost me too much, and I wasn't going to let him cost me any more. After that, I blocked him. In about an hour, I got a call from one of my brothers asking me if I was okay and what was going on between Lloyd and me, because Lloyd just called them and asked a lot of questions they didn't understand. I asked him what his answer was to Lloyd. My brother told me that he didn't even know what was going on. I hadn't been to my family house in a while, so they didn't even know what was going on with me. So he couldn't give Lloyd any of the answers he wanted. I laughed and told my brother not to pick up any of Lloyd's calls, at least for that day. My brother asked me what I was doing. I told him I was playing an April Fool's prank. My brother, who loved pranks more than he loved air itself, asked me if I was sure of what I was doing because Lloyd sounded so worried. He told me that Lloyd sounded like someone who just heard that a loved one was in an accident. I went silent because that was actually the lie I told. I guess my brother was good at reading situations. He advised me that whatever prank I was pulling, he was getting the feeling that it was a bit too extreme and that I needed to stop it instantly. I told my brother that I was going to do what I wanted, and I reminded him not to pick up any more calls from Lloyd, and that if he told Lloyd that I was pranking him, I would not forgive him. Then I ended the call. I got a call from a strange number, and I knew it was Lloyd. I let it ring for a while, then I picked it up, and I was right. I heard Lloyd's voice telling me that he doesn't know what I was talking about in my texts, but he could assure me that he did not cheat on me. And he was asking why I didn't go to my parents' house so they'd take care of me since I was injured. I told him that he wanted me to show my shame for my whole family to see. I told him that I had kept this from my family, and if he dared to call any of my brothers again or bring them into our squabble, that he wouldn't believe what I would do to myself. He tried to talk, but before he could say anything, I ended the call on him. He called me a few times with that number, but I didn't answer any of them. I then picked it up and started crying, telling him to leave me alone. I told him that he won, that he should be happy with his new girlfriend, and that he should leave me alone. I told him that I had moved on. I was crying like I was seriously injured, and telling him that he was making my injuries hurt even more. He told me that he was on his way back home because I couldn't be alone when I was in such a fragile state. He promised me that he didn't cheat on me, and we would talk about this when he got back. He also begged me not to do anything extreme before he got back. When I heard that he was coming back, I muted the call and screamed in excitement. I had accomplished what I wanted. He was coming back home. Since I wasn't replying, he asked me if I could hear him, but I didn't say anything. I didn't even unmute the call. He feared that something had happened and called my name aloud so many times, but I didn't unmute it. I heard him praying in fear. Then he ended the call and tried calling me back, but I wasn't picking up. In a few hours, I heard the sound of the front door unlocking from outside, but I wasn't worried because I had bolted it from the inside. I knew it was Lloyd. He was trying to unlock the door with his key. When he couldn't open the door, he began knocking, but I didn't care to answer him. I wanted him to feel the excruciating impatience and annoyance I felt when he left me that day for work. He called my name so many times, but I didn't answer him. He stood out there for about 7 minutes before I finally opened the door. I saw him standing out there. He was panting like he had just run a marathon. He was sweating, and he looked so unkempt. It was clear he had come down as quickly as possible. He didn't have anything in his hand other than his phone. His eyes were red, and it was clear that he was crying. He looked at me with a very confused look. I know he was expecting to see me in bandages or even a cast, but there was nothing on me. He quickly came close to me and checked my entire body to be sure he wasn't imagining things. There wasn't a single injury in my body. The first words that came out of my mouth were that it was a surprise that he could come down to see me on a moment's notice, because he had never done that since he started his program. Lloyd was confused. He looked at me and asked what was going on. He was angry and confused and scared. He then asked what was going on. I laughed and said, "April Fool." He looked even more confused after I said that, and he asked me what the hell I was talking about. I told him that it was a prank. I told him that it was April Fool's Day and that he had fallen victim to my prank. He grabbed a handful of his hair and took a deep breath. He then slowly said that I knew that he wasn't cheating on me, that I knew he didn't get anyone pregnant, that he didn't have any other girlfriend, and that I just decided to pull this stupid stunt. I told him that I needed to get his attention somehow. I told him that I didn't get into any accident, I wasn't drinking or depressed, that the only thing I felt was loneliness because he abandoned me. I told him that I just missed him and that I needed him back with me. I told him that he was taking work too seriously and that I didn't like how he wasn't prioritizing me any longer. Lloyd shouted like a wounded animal and asked me if I was crazy. I didn't see what he was being so angry about, so I stated that. He looked at me and asked me if something was wrong with me. I had seen Lloyd angry several times throughout the course of our relationship, but this wasn't just anger. It was like I had pushed my boyfriend over the edge. He asked me if I knew the kind of crucial meeting he had to run out of because he was making a fool of himself by not focusing. He asked if I knew how much money he had to burn to get a flight so quickly to come down to me. I laughed and told him that it was all worth it, that I was worth it. He ran his palms over his face and said that I was crazy and that I should get out of his house. I didn't understand what he was saying, and I asked him what he meant by that. He said that he was breaking up with me and that I should take my craziness somewhere else. I told him that it was just a prank, and I asked why he was taking it so seriously. He angrily shouted at me that the repercussions of pranks are real. He hurried down to me, thinking he was coming to save something that was about to crash, not knowing that I was just a crazy person who was taking advantage of the fact that he loved me. I thought he was joking, but he marched into the house and packed each and every one of my clothes and threw them out. I tried pleading with him, but he didn't want to hear anything I had to say. He pushed me out of the house and told me to stay away from him in the house. He took the key he gave me and locked me out. I am so mad that Lloyd would break up with me because I needed his attention. I can't even believe his actions. I did what I did because I love him, and he has refused to be understanding. Update. Hello, everyone. I guess I was too blind to see how extreme my actions were back then, but I've had time to reflect on them, and I see how far I went. I put Lloyd in such a difficult position that he felt like the world he knew was about to end. I mean, he loved me and he thought I was just in an accident and suffering alone, and I don't know why I didn't ask myself the right questions. My brother, whom Lloyd called, was a king prankster, and even he didn't like the way the prank was going, even though he didn't know the details. He advised against continuing the prank, but I didn't care. Still, it didn't give Lloyd the right to hurt me. Yes, I took things too far, but he should try to understand the reasons behind the prank. Sometimes when I think about it, it feels like his love was not genuine, because if he loved me, he would have understood why I had to do it, and he wouldn't have thrown me out. It's almost impossible to believe that he would end a relationship and not even look back because of a mere prank. My April Fool's prank was carried out because of how much I love him. He chose to not see things the way I did. Thinking about it now, I think I loved him the most, and that hurts the most. It's not like I committed a crime or anything. That was just my way of proving to him that I missed him, and I just wanted to be a little bit visible to him. I wanted him to be aware of my feelings and emotions, but instead he broke my heart. He really didn't try, and I can't believe how decisive and firm he was. Anyways, I had to move back with my family. Luckily enough, 2 of my brothers have moved out. They got an apartment together. The eldest of us had already moved out, so the house is just for 2 of my brothers, me, and my parents. Although it still feels weird being back here because I felt like I had outgrown the place, yet here I am, back to the same place I thought I had outgrown. I expected Lloyd to realize by now that he overreacted, but instead he's proving stubborn and clearly doesn't want me back. That hurts me a lot. I know I spoiled things when they were so close to being perfect. That's all on me. I regret how I behaved. It cost me my first and greatest love. I just hope I get a chance to love again. Also, I pray he misses me someday and regrets his actions because I'm losing myself every day without him.